Battlecryer's log begins. Plasma volleys light up the void as enemy vessels rupture and drift apart. Captain Rana's voice rings clear. Brace for impact. Fighters spiral in tight formation. Laser cannons flare. Humanity fights back. A historian's interview. Dr. Yates recalls Sector 9's fall with haunted eyes. We were broken then. Reenactment footage shows skeletal hulls and crews abandoning hope amid hushed alarms. Data logs flicker. Human Alpha 7. 63% casualties. Morale critical. Act 1 unfolds through shattered archives. Vanguard fleets cut down in orbit. Colonies forsaken under relentless onslaught. Then Act 2 shifts tone. Soldiers' encrypted journal pulses on screen. They didn't expect our compassion. Transmission to Captain Jiro crackles. We reached out mid-battle. Dramatization reveals humans tending wounded foes, forging fragile truces that cripple enemy cohesion. Sensor graphs plummet. Enemy cohesion 42% in 22 hours. Scavenged star charts reveal human sigils scrawled across alien grids. Act 3 erupts. Sirens wail as starblades hum alive. Engineers train civilians on shield arrays. A mosaic of generations stands united beneath roaring pulse cannons and psionic lances. Admiral Khalid's broadcast booms, "This is our moment." In a climactic burst, humanity shatters the alien command nexus. Silence follows, then cheers. Reconstruction fleets emerge, carving new hope from shattered worlds. Interviewees beam triumph. Dr. Yates exhales. They underestimated our spirit. The final data log scrolls over a rising dawn on terraforming rigs. Victory Codex 1, humanity indispensable. Flashes of war echo in a survivor's retelling. Lieutenant Ava Monroe stares past the camera. They came like gods. We thought we were ants. Cut to a dramatization, monoliths descending, fracturing skies with gravitational pulses. Civilians, run! Earth's defense grid collapses in a single orbital sweep. A smuggled data log shows panicked chatter. Evacuate Node 7. They're inside the atmosphere. Its footage pans to Earth's orbit, littered with debris and flames. This is the start of Act 1, the catalog of failure. Narrator voiceover, humanity faced. Extinction not once, but 8 separate times over 60 years. Analysts highlight the Alari Blitz, the Vorik Siege, and the infamous Zentha erasure. A UN military strategist explains, they didn't just beat us, they studied us. And still, they failed to understand one thing. We returned to Ava. Her voice wavers. They couldn't break what they didn't see, our will. Reenactments show underground resistance cells and scorched cities, farmers hiding scientists, teachers encrypting survival plans into children's textbooks. The loss was total in some sectors, but the human response was never silence. It was adaptation. The footage fades into thermal maps of deep Earth bunkers, then cut to black boxes from fallen ships, transmitting fragments of lullabies sung by crew facing oblivion. They assumed we'd beg. Instead, we learned. Act 1 deepens. In a scorched field in former Berlin, Commander Reyes gives a field interview. His prosthetic hand clenches unconsciously as he speaks. They hit us with precision, like a scalpel. Cut our leaders off. Jammed our comms. Killed our momentum. Simulation overlays show enemy drones mapping command hierarchies before striking surgical, mechanical, devoid of malice. Just efficiency. They expected collapse. Reyes continues. And for a while, they got it. As footage rolls of automated medical ships turned refugee arcs, lifeboats fleeing, burning orbital docks. Then the camera holds on a ragtag militia engineers, cooks, janitors arming themselves with retrofitted mining gear, and arc welders turned plasma lances. The Navy was gone, says one. But humanity didn't need a fleet to fight, just a reason. A recovered alien tactician log flashes briefly. Subject species, non-standard response. Logic model, disrupted. Scientists in Geneva piece through. Recovered wreckage, showcasing neural maps too chaotic for prediction. They trained for conquest, explains Dr. Nishimura. Not improvisation, not irrational courage. The chunk ends with a dramatized shot of a teenager lighting a signal beacon. With a reprogrammed enemy drone, we didn't surrender. We adapted. Shifting into Act 2, the tone sharpens. Interview. Former Zentha war strategist, now defected. His speech is clipped, eyes wary. We never understood you. We modeled behavior. Simulated panic. You defied all expectations. Cut 2 dramatization war councils in cavernous glass domes projecting predictive models, only to watch chaos unfold in every engagement. Swarm of human fighters untrained, unpredictable fractures their logic paths. You broke our engines. Data logs confirm AI predictive failure rate, 78% increase. In voiceover, narrator explains how humans turned their chaos into advantage. Historians call it the noise doctrine. Fragmented attacks, emotional bait, inconsistent patterns. We didn't outgun them, explains Captain Dewan. We made them doubt. Cue reenactment. Human strike teams faking emotional distress, drawing in enemy medunits, then striking from within. They designed weapons for strength, not for guilt. In one chilling scene, a wounded human shields an injured alien from crossfire. Stunned, the enemy hesitates just long enough. A ripple of hesitation spreads across enemy ranks. Compassion was our deadliest weapon. The chunk closes with a decrypted Zentha morale log. Repeat encounters with human mercy cause system instability. Strategic paralysis. The documentary cuts to the archive of broken stars, orbital museum floating among shattered relics. A steel plate etched with the phrase, "We endure." Act 2's climax unfolds through confessionals. Admiral Chen, her uniform, still scorched, recounts the siege of Jupiter's moons. They shut off our oxygen, thought we'd suffocate. We learned to breathe less, to think more. Footage shows humans rationing in zero-G shelters, duct tape, sealing broken suits, laughter, echoing in ice tunnels beneath Europa. Cut to dramatization. A blind technician operating a targeting system using echolocation. Soldiers sketching escape routes from memory alone. They had metrics. We had miracles. Interviews with sinologists explain that most galactic species flattened under disruption. Humanity diverged, became creative, desperate, alive. An old man holds a data slate etched by his daughter's last transmission. "Keep going, Dad." That message would later guide a fleet through a blind jump to safety. Voiceover narrates, "They underestimated our fragility, but fragility isn't weakness. It's evolution under pressure." The screen fades to a pulse scan of a child born during the siege crying, alive and unafraid. A low hum opens the next segment, AETO log recovered from the wreckage of the colonial freighter Stalwart. A young crewman's voice cracks as he speaks. "They've breached the hull. We're patching it with meal trays and prayer." Cut to dramatized footage crew, sealing a vacuum breach with heat-sealed plastic. One hand holding the patch, the other gripping a fallen comrade. In voiceover, Dr. Alana Morris, a sociologist, explains what the invaders miscalculated. What's our relationship to suffering? Most species avoid pain. We mine it, we transform it. She gestures toward a data wall of recovered transmissions, farewells, vows, jokes in the face of extinction. It wasn't just defiance, it was culture. The dramatization pans to a family recording lullabies in a lifeboat, unsure who would hear them. On the Zentha side, command records begin to reflect confusion. Human cultural signals unstable. Emotional noise interferes with tactical response. Another file reads, "Morale stability, 93% unreasonable." Commander Reyes reappears in the interview frame, more composed now. "They kept waiting for us to break, and when we didn't, they hesitated." The dramatization shows enemy drones pulling back mid-assault, confused by human survivors smiling in the ruins. One soldier paints stars onto a bomb casing before launching it. Another lights a cigarette beside an active landmine, nodding at the drone watching him. Saw madness, but it was hope, Reyes says. Just Act 2 pivots toward revelation. On a windswept plateau of the Martian frontier, a weathered researcher kneels beside a shattered Zentha Exusu. K-built machines, he says, but they forgot to ask why we build families. Cut to dramatized. Footage. A human squad shielding a Zentha child genetically engineered, but afraid. We didn't need to see ourselves in them. We saw something to protect. Across fractured front lines, humans begin forming bonds with defectors, Xantha. Medic on camera speaks softly, voice modulated, but clear. Your species gave us choice. Interview overlays reveal the shift. Xantha soldiers surrendering not from fear, but from awe. They didn't understand rebellion born from kindness. A reenactment shows humans risking themselves to save alien wounded Dunderfire, without hesitation. Xantha morale logs reflect spiritual collapse. Enemy exhibits altruistic protection of non-kin, cultural infiltration detected. Analysts dissect the phenomenon, labeling it the compassion rift. Voiceover. By saving what others would discard, we disrupted an empire's command code. In one striking dramatization, a human doctor performs surgery on an enemy commander. As a firefight rages around them, they underestimated our ethics. They weaponized logic. We wielded conscience. Act 2 reaches its emotional core. Dr. Yates reappears. Older footage, this time when the war was still raging. They never understood memory. That's what made them lose. A dramatization unfolds. A human scout retrieving a buried music chip, handing it off to a child in a field hospital. The melody Beethoven echoes through scorched walls. The camera lingers on silent tears, on soldiers pausing to listen, even enemies unsure what they're hearing. A Xantha surveillance log reads, "Sonic artifact, unknown function disrupts tactical efficiency." In an interview, a defected Xantha pilot nods. "We never sang. You sang through grief." Footage fades into humans gathering in ruins, lighting candles, sketching murals, cooking meals over reactor exhausts. They saw us as fragmented, but it was memory that held us together. One dramatized scene shows a woman burying her brother on a shattered moon, then teaching a Xantha child how to plant a memorial flag. "We were building a story," Dr. Yates whispers, "one they couldn't overwrite." The chunk closes with a soft transmission across all bands, human children reciting names of the fallen clear. Deliberate. Act 3 begins with thunder. The enemy's last bastion Sindar station hangs over a dying star. A massive human fleet arrives, not in silence, but in signal. This is humanity. We are here. Their message broadcasts on every wavelength. Inside the war room, Admiral Khalid stands tall. We gave them every chance to understand. Now, we end this. The dramatization pulses with tension. Fighters swarm. Gravity buckles, starfire spills across enemy hulls. Yet, amid the battle, something strange. Xantha ships peel away. Whole squadrons abandon their posts. Internal rebellion fractures their chain of command. One Xantha captain opens a channel. "We will not die as tyrants," voiceover explains. Their failure wasn't tactical. It was philosophical. They built a machine to conquer. We built a reason to survive. Scenes shift between brutal combat and acts of mercy. A human vessel rescuing stranded Xantha survivors. Defectors aiding boarding teams. The storm reaches its crescendo as Sindar Station explodes, imploding in slow, molten collapse. Silence follows. Then, cheers. Across every human channel. The war is over. The narration ends simply. They came to erase us, and learned what it means. The screen fades in on Earth, healed but scarred. Cities rise slowly from ash. Children play beneath statues of the fallen. Dr. Yates walks through a rebuilt museum, passing exhibits, makeshift weapons, final letters, Xantha artifacts once used. In war now displayed beside human relics. "We didn't just win," she says. "We changed the galaxy." Voiceover carries the message across a sea of stars. The war proved that survival isn't dominance. It's empathy, adaptation, and story. Interviews with alien emissaries now living among humans echo the sentiment. A former Xantha engineer describes it best. "We were forged for obedience. You taught us how to choose." In dramatization, humans and aliens co-construct orbiting academies, plant shared gardens on Mars, terraform moons together. New colonies rise with multi-species crests. "They feared us because they didn't understand us," says Reyes. "And when they tried to destroy us, they met themselves reflected in the best parts of what they feared." The chunk ends with a memorial being unveiled. A child, part Zentha, part human, steps forward and whispers the inscription, "They underestimated us, and we rewrote the future." The war may have ended, but understanding its roots had only begun. Inside a united-souled diplomatic chamber orbiting Ganymede. Historian Talon Kara, Zentha philosopher in human robes, addresses a multi-species panel. "We didn't lose to your weapons. We lost to your contradictions." Flashback reenactments, flicker, human soldiers disobeying orders to save enemies, field medics choosing life over victory. "We modeled strength as suppression," Care continues, "but you modeled strength as sacrifice." Voiceover narration clarifies. "The galactic powers had algorithms. We had paradoxes." Data footage shows neural scans failing to categorize human decisions as logical. One simulation labeled a humanitarian rescue as statistical madness. An expert explains, "Our unpredictability wasn't chaos. It was choice. Conscious irrationality is what made us ungovernable." In dramatization, Zentha War AI malfunctions after failing to predict a mother risking herself to retrieve a child unrelated. It's from a rival species. "It's not just what we did," says Dr. Morris from earlier. "It's that we did it when it made no sense." The panel in the chamber nods. "We built empires on order," Care admits, "but you built resilience on feeling." A final reenacted scene shows a human artist painting a mural on the hull of a peace envoy vessel. Brush strokes chaotic. Its colors clashing, but beautiful. A rare broadcast plays next excerpts from the classified Echo trials. Human volunteers faced off against captured Zentha battle algorithms in virtual simulations. At first, the AI overwhelmed them. Every tactic countered. Every movement, I predicted. But then, the humans changed. One subject begins humming mid-simulation. Another writes a poem into the dirt instead of fighting. The algorithms stall. Panic responses spike. Narration reveals the flaw. The Zentha built machines to fight enemies, not souls. Got an interview. The lead programmer of the Echo trials says our people don't default to destruction. We search for meaning even inside war. A reenactment dramatizes a turning point. One human plants a virtual tree where hundreds have died. The AI pauses, no directive matches. The human kneels and places a Zentha banner beside it. Test complete. System crash. A recovered AI log scrolls, undefined variable, grace. The narrator continues. "We didn't win with violence. We won with vulnerability." With the refusal to become what they expected, Echo Trial 06 footage ends with humans walking away from victory, choosing to reprogram the simulation instead. A final scene shows a group of former enemies sharing a meal, overlooking a virtual sun. Back on Earth, the Memory Project begins. It's in a vast underground vault beneath Greenland's ice. Engineers and artists work side by side. "We're not archiving a war," says project director Lela Ngata. "We're preserving what stopped." Each exhibit fuses war relics with moments of peace. A Zentha weapon dismantled into a sculpture. A soldier's ration tin now filled with wildflower seeds. Visitors walk through immersive holograms of kindness under fire. Defense, Leela says. Memory is immunity. The narration reinforces. Where others recorded conquests, humanity recorded grace. One dramatized scene features a child guiding their blind grandfather through the museum. "This was the minefield," the child says, "but it became a garden." Interviews with alien historians confirm it. No archive in the galaxy holds more moments of mercy than humanity's. A Zentha historian adds, "You made your grief sacred." The chunk ends in the vault's heart room, a chamber filled with sound recordings. Laughter, lullabies, whispered names. The final moment. It's quiet, the camera pulling back as a new sound as Adita, baby's first cry, echoing into the archive stillness. The camera now floats through orbit, past stations rebuilt from war debris. Toward the Terran Reconciliation Accord Centra, spire of glass and light where former enemies work in unison. Inside, Commander Reyes stands beside Sent the diplomat. "Yakas, it took more than survival," Reyes says. "Really, it took reflection." It's footage plays of reconciliation efforts. Humans helping rebuild Zentha worlds. aliens sharing agricultural tech to restore Earth's poisoned soil. We shared not out of guilt, Vico's adds, but out of understanding. Dramatization shows once ravaged cities now glowing with mixed architecture, alien spires rising beside human plazas. It's cultural centers where human children learn alien history and Zentha youth study, Terran philosophy. We won the war, the narrator says, but the peace that was harder. One scene cuts to a heated council meeting accusations, trauma, resistance. Peace isn't the absence of conflict, Reyes continues. It's the daily choice not to return to war. A symbolic moment closes the chunk. A human and Zentha child exchange artifacts, a drawing for a shard of old armor. We carry both, the narrator concludes, what we were and what we. The final act of reflection begins on the moon's dark side, where a solitary monument stands, not grand, but quiet. A simple stone, etched in hundreds of languages, reads, "They underestimated us." Veterans, civilians, and former Zentha. Warriors visit in silence. Some place hands on the stone, others simply sit. The voiceover returns, gentle now, they expected beasts, they found poets. Montage rolls scenes from every chunk. Soldiers sharing food, children laughing in bunkers, strangers offering hope. This wasn't just humanity's war, says Dr. Yates. It was our mirror, what we feared we might become and what we chose to be instead. A reenacted moment lingers, a soldier refusing to shoot, even with everything to lose. Mercy is the last rebellion, the narrator says, and we made it our legacy. As the screen fades to black, one last log transmission plays an alien child's voice asking, "Are all humans like that?" Cause. Then a voice answers, "Warm, not all, but enough." Fade in on Earth and the stars beyond, linked by a pulse of quiet, unbreakable. In the years that followed, the story of humanity's resistance spread far beyond what the war touched. On the distant world of Tavaroon, a planet the Zentha once ruled with iron silence, the mural now stretches 3 kilometers across a canyon. Wall painted not by humans, but by alien youth. It depicts a single Terran soldier kneeling beside a wounded enemy, sharing water. Voiceover, it wasn't a story we wrote for ourselves, became the galaxy's parable. In dramatization, alien artists gather around ancient Earth broadcasts watching documentaries, listening to jazz, weeping at Shakespearean monologues. You resisted not just with weapons, says one alien teacher in an interview, but with soul. One scene features a Zentha elder whispering Terran poetry to her grandchildren. This reminds us, she says, to remain alive while living. A montage plays, interstellar classrooms teaching human history. Fleets adopting Terran rescue protocols. Cultures reshaping their art in response to human resilience. They thought they'd erase us, the narrator says, but we became the ink. A closing dramatization shows the first alien playwright to win the Terran Peace Prize, bowing beneath a holographic banner, inspired by the humans who refused to become. In a broadcast from the Interstellar Memory Council, director Ellen Hadari addresses all inhabited systems. Her voice is steady. Why did they underestimate us? She asks. Because we made the mistake of believing strength was loud. Dramatization replays early wartime news images of Terran cities burning, broadcasts screaming panic. They saw fear, but missed the response. Footage shifts, firefighters running into the inferno, neighbors sharing oxygen, soldiers lifting rubble with bare hands. They expected compliance or chaos. We gave them unity. Backed by dramatized images of civilian coalitions forming without central command. The narration continues. No signal told them to resist. They just did. Voice logs from early raids replay. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not running. I've got 2 hands. That's enough. Experts call this emergent resistance, the spontaneous order that arose from instinctive collaboration. Humanity's advantage, Hadari says, was that we never waited for permission to care. A final dramatization shows a Zentha ship scanning a Terran district mid-battle, reading no central command, misjudging the mob as disorganized. Seconds later, a homemade trap disables the enemy, and the crowd. Act 3 returns to its closing beat with a new layer truth. In a hidden archive beneath Olympus Mons, decrypted Xantha command logs are reviewed by a mixed-species ethics tribunal. One entry stands out. Operation Mindglass Target Human Mythos. The plan was to fracture humanity not by force, but by story. Dramatized flashbacks show agents injecting false narratives into Terran feeds, altering history, fabricating betrayals. They tried to corrupt our past, says Tribunal. Member Alaco, because they couldn't win against who we were, but they failed. One reenactment features a librarian in a bunker restoring ancient digital records from salvaged drives, patching together old tales, resurrecting truth. They thought memory was fragile, the narrator says, but we had backup systems made. Of people? A key dramatization shows kids reciting oral histories in shelter schools line by line, heart by heart. One alien scholar admits, "You made remembering an act of war," as the tribunal confirms the operation's details. The verdict is unanimous. Cultural warfare, repelled not by technology, but by tradition. A final scene shows a Xantha youth reading human mythology aloud on their homeworld. We tried to erase it. In orbit above Europa, a new Terran-built ship launched its name etched in every known language. Endure. It isn't a warship. It's a mobile, cultural ark carrying art, philosophy, and memory to systems once too afraid to feel. Inside. The camera pans across galleries filled with sculptures born from war and peace and alloy, made from both Xantha armor and Terran shrapnel. Poet recites softly in the background. We are not what they expected. We are what we chose. Narration deepens. They underestimated humanity because they calculated everything. We felt our way forward. On the bridge, the crew stands as one, a child of Earth, a Xantha diplomat, a cyborg born in post-war colonies. This isn't conquest, says the captain. It's invitation. The ship jumps. Starfield blurs. A new world waits. Back. On Earth, people gather to watch the departure, holding candles and old letters. We remember, so others may begin, says Dr. Yates, one last time. A slow zoom on the hull reveals a final inscription beneath the ship's name. Empathy. Endurance. The final chapter opens on a quiet meadow. Not Earth, not Xantha. A third place, grown by both. Children of every species run between glowing trees and metallic blossoms, unaware of the war their parents survived. The camera focuses on one girl, half human, half Xantha, reading aloud to a group. Once they underestimated us, she says, and that was their last mistake. The others cheer. Voiceover narration begins the close. They saw us as isolated, but we were connected. They saw us as chaotic, but we were alive. Footage fades between scenes, lovers of different worlds building homes together, soldiers planting trees. Where graves once stood, scholars writing shared histories. They came to conquer a species, the voice says, and met a story. One reenactment shows the first interstellar opera half in Terran dialect, half in Xantha waveform. The music swells. A veteran watches from the crowd, tears slipping silently. The final image is that child again, walking to a tree shaped like both cultures' roots and circuit tendrils entwined. She places her book down. The wind lifts a page. The camera zooms into the text. We did not survive because we were strong. We survived because we remembered how to. They called it the Age of Reckoning, but in the years after, another name took hold, the Age of Becoming. The United Terran Legacy Archive, orbiting Proxima Centauri b, catalogs not just humanity's survival, but what it inspired. The opening. Shot of vast sphere rotating slowly in zero gravity, layers of living memory projected across its skin, mages, sounds, languages. You became the fulcrum, says Dr. Savannah, a Centauri-born philosopher. It's not just of war, but of self-definition. A dramatization shows alien children touring the archive. One touches an artifact, a charred Terran book with notes in the margins. Why is it burned? She asks. Because we risked everything to keep it, answers her guide. Even stories bleed. Throughout the sphere, exhibits highlight the chaos that held humans baking bread during sieges, composing music under bombardment, refusing to forget who they were. They underestimated us, the narrator says. because they mistook pain for weakness. Reenactment footage plays of the last librarians, a band of civilians who smuggled memory across the stars, disguised as traitors. They carried truth like fire, says an archival voice log. One final exhibit shows a wall of names, known and unknown beneath the inscription, "They remembered us before we were ready to remember ourselves." The galaxy didn't change overnight. There were fractures, resistances, even betrayals. But something had shifted. The first unified galactic assembly post-war, a Terran representative is elected to speak for all refugee worlds. She stands clad not in armor, but in woven threads of Earth and Zentha design. "We are not here because we were perfect," she says. "We are here because we endured imperfection and chose to rise from it." Her words echo through the assembly chamber. Dramatizations flash behind the speech moments of past refusal. A soldier discarding orders to protect civilians. Pilot refusing to bomb a retreating convoy. "They underestimated us because they thought power was cruelty in scale," she says. "But we learned that real power is restraint." Cheers erupt. In the background, alien and human diplomats clasped hands, not as a symbol, but as a matter-of-fact gesture. No cameras linger, no glory sought, just continuity. The narrator reflects, "We didn't win by being better than them. We won by remembering what we refused to become." The assembly fades into night. In orbit, the stars shine dimly, behind the transparent dome. Inside, history shifts, not written in fire this time, but in voice. The final reveal comes in the form of recovered Zentha War simulations, now declassified and analyzed by galactic historians. They had predicted every military outcome, every surrender, every collapse, except one. The variable they never cracked: human kindness. A reenacted visual shows the Zentha War engine running simulations with increasing frustration, red lines marking failure after failure. "They accounted for missiles, terrain, supply chains," says historian Val Etra. But not for a child sharing rations with a dying enemy. In one data stream, the AI attempts to quantify forgiveness and fails. Another shows statistical anomalies where human units continued to function beyond logical collapse points. Morale without reason, Val explains. Endurance without end. A flashback dramatization cuts to a scene of a wounded soldier crawling across a battlefield not to kill, but to pull an enemy away from fire. "They thought empathy was a weakness," the narrator says, "but it was our software." The last Zentha AI log blinks its final entry before shutdown. Variable, love, unsolvable. "It wasn't the tech that made us special," the narrator says, voice tightening. "So is that even broken, even dying? We never forgot how to reach for someone else." A quiet world turns beneath twin suns. No monuments this time, no speeches. It's just a single girl, Terran Zentha hybrid, planting a seed in unfamiliar soil. Her hands are small, movements unsure. Around her, others begin to gather Walian human. Machine, no orders, just presence. The camera pulls back. We see what was once a scarred battlefield, now slowly blooming with alien flora and Terran green. "They underestimated us." The narrator begins one last time because they forgot something vital. Scenes fade in and out: rescue ships, rebuilt towns, new art, old songs. They forgot that a story once started never truly ends. As the girl seed begins to sprout, we hear voices, human, alien, synthesized, all telling pieces of a shared myth. The last image is the child looking up, squinting at the sun. "Are we safe now?" she whispers. The camera doesn't answer. It just lingers. Then, slowly, it tilts upward past the seedlings, the light, the rebuilt sky, into stars that now carry echoes, into galaxies that remember. Final voiceover, quiet and resolute. "We weren't the strongest. We weren't the smartest. But we were the ones who learned to care before it was too late. And in the end, that was